There's a moment, and maybe you've had it, where you wake up and think, I can't live like this anymore. Maybe no one around you even notices the shift, but something inside you knows you're done performing, you're done carrying it all, you're done pretending that you're okay. You might still be showing up, getting through the day, doing all the things, but inside you're unraveling. And some part of you is whispering, there has to be another way. That moment, that's not a breakdown, it's a threshold. And today I want to talk about what happens next. Hello, and welcome back to the Voicekeeper Podcast. I am Caroline, and I'm a woman who has been exactly where you are in this moment that I talked about in the opening. This episode is not about fixing anything. It's about naming the moment when everything shifts, when you realize that you're not broken, you are becoming. And this is a really important moment that I want to capture and talk to you all about, because this is a moment that I experience, but this is a moment that I see with a lot of my clients, and you may be experiencing that as well. So if you're in that place today, if those words live in your chest, I can't do this anymore, put your hand on your heart and take a breath and say it with me. I am allowed to choose something different. Let it land. I've had this moment more than once. One of them hit me in the middle of a school day, coffee in hand, dishes everywhere, client notes on my desk, and I just froze. I looked around at this life I'd built and I thought, I've done everything right, but why do I feel so far away from myself? And I wasn't in crisis, right? But I was numb. The version of me I used to recognize had faded behind all the roles: mom, partner, creative, coach, homemaker. And I realized that I couldn't keep pretending I was fine. And I want to talk about this moment for a minute, because I think sometimes we get this idea in our heads, and I maybe have perpetuated this message as well, that you have to have this big giant moment of transformation, and that's not true. Recognizing yourself and seeing that you need to shift can happen at any time. It happened for me in these small moments. And for me, it was interesting because I didn't listen to those moments. I was ignoring them because I was so busy and I had a lot to do. And then the universe was like, well, since you're not hearing me, let me do something a little bit more drastic. And that's when I had my whole heart situation, which you've heard me talk about on this podcast before. I mean, that'll kick you in the pants for sure, laying in the emergency room, having your heart stop 7 times. But you don't need that big, profound moment to allow yourself to shift. And I really want to emphasize that, because I know that in the spiritual world, in the world of spirituality and spiritual coaching, sometimes it can feel like I'm never going to connect to that. That feels so far away. And I definitely felt like that. In my spiritual journey, which started years ago, there were moments where I would see other people and I'd be like, why don't I feel like that? Why am I not having that big, grand, standing on a mountain and I suddenly see my life, how it should be? No, let's be realistic. For those of us who are drowning in laundry and dirty dishes and to-do lists and places to be and things to do and people to take care of, it's in the quiet moment, okay? And so I want you, if you're listening to this and you've been waiting for this giant message moment, to start listening in the quieter, busier moments, in the smaller moments. And I want to talk about this moment because it's not a moment of weakness. To me, this is a moment of sacredness. When you say, I can't do this anymore, I'm ready to come home to myself, that is not weakness. That's soul remembering. And that is a really distinction to make, because we put so much pressure on ourselves to be able to hold it all together, to do all the things, to handle the overwhelm, to handle the bills, to handle the whatever, right? To handle people needing us. And we get so caught up in that that we forget to take care of ourselves. And so I have a little reflection prompt for you. If you're listening to this and this is identifying with anything you've ever experienced, think about, where are you holding it all together just to avoid disappointing others? And I know that I have done this, my clients have done this, whether it's showing up for their clients, I don't want to disappoint my clients, or I don't want to disappoint my family by doing X, Y, and Z. No, 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 no. Right. And we're going to talk more about this, but it really is so, so important that you recognize that it's time to take care of yourself and you acknowledge that. And let me tell you, everybody around you is going to benefit from that. So never see it as a moment of weakness. What follows is what I like to call an unraveling. I think of like a sweater, like a really ratty sweater. And maybe you're wearing this sweater over like a super cute outfit, but you decided to put on this ratty sweater and it's got loose threads. It reminds me of, I'm going to date myself here. It reminds me of like that old Weezer song, If You Want to Destroy My Sweater. I always loved that song so much. So that's probably where that metaphor is coming from for me. But you pull on that one thread, right? You pull on that one thread and all of a sudden the whole sweater starts to unravel. And that's what I feel like happens when you experience this moment where you're like, I can't live like this anymore. And then you start to pull on threads and all of a sudden you start to notice all the things that are not working. And this, again, doesn't mean failure. It just means that your truth is rising, and that unraveling is clearing space for rerouting, right? It's to show what's underneath the cute outfit that you forgot about, right? And it can be uncomfortable. Letting go before you know what's next can be super uncomfortable. I have been sitting in a job. Here's a really great example of this. I've been sitting in a job that I'm not super happy with for a while. I'm not passionate about it, but I've been so afraid to take that next step because I don't know what's next. And there's a difference between not knowing what's next and being afraid of what's next, right? The other thing that kind of pops up in this unraveling moment is that temptation to rush into fixing. I have to find a quick fix. So if I'm going to change, something about my life, it needs to be quick. It needs to be immediate. And we can get into trouble with that because then all of a sudden, all of the quick fixes we're trying to grab at can be distractions to the thing that we're actually supposed to be doing. Think about times when you wanted to change something. Let's say maybe you wanted to do a new morning routine. We'll start with something small. And so you go online and you research and you find all the morning routine ideas that you can think of. And you see one that's like, this is the best morning routine. And you're like, oh, I'm going to do that. And you start applying it. And then you set your alarm and you're like, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to do this morning routine. It's going to completely change my life. I'm laughing because I've done this before. And then you do it for like 1-2 days and you realize this isn't working for me, this quick fix. And now you've wasted some time when you could have been working on the other thing. One of the things that, there's a couple things in here that I want to let you know about. One is that breaking any habit or creating any new habit takes at least 10 days. So let's just acknowledge that. Not a quick fix, right? If you've ever tried to break a habit, you know this. If you've ever tried to add a new one, you know this. Like the first 3-4 days, you feel great. And then after that, you're like, well, this is kind of awful. Well, it's because you're changing thought pattern. You're actually rewiring your brain. And that takes 10 days. And so why I bring this up is because that temptation to rush into fixing, instead, we want to pause. We want to pause. We want to tap into our intuition, into our voice. I just recently did an episode about that. And we want to see if we can start listening, right, to our inner knowing on what we were supposed to do. You don't have to figure it all out, but you do have to listen. And this is really where spiritual support matters, not for strategy, but for soul. You don't need someone to tell you what to do. You need someone to hold space while you remember who you are, right? It's not about, okay, I need you to tell me the thing that I need to do to fix my life. It's, let's listen to what you actually want, what you actually need, what your inner knowing, your higher self is actually asking you to do. And I can be like a full testimony to the fact that when you listen to that inner knowing, to that higher consciousness, to that voice, it can completely change everything for you for the better, because you stop living in this space of quick fixes, of disappointment, of burnout, of overwhelm, and you start living in this space of connectedness to yourself, to who you are, to what you actually want and need. I have had a rough couple of days spiritually, soulfully. I don't know. I've had a rough couple of days. I am in the middle of making big moves in my life, in my business. We're getting ready to homeschool, to start school for the year. So there's just a lot going on. We're going out of town, which is just like the worst timing right now. And we just have so much going on. And I've been really overwhelmed, really overwhelmed. And it's been such an incredible reminder for me to listen to that voice, because the minute you get overwhelmed is the minute you stop listening to it. And you're like, well, I just need this. I just need that. I just need this. And when I finally took the time to go like, my inner self is telling me that we need to take a moment to connect and go sit and give myself a moment of peace and meditate and pull some cards and do some yoga, everything else became so much easier. And I'm not saying that the solution to your problem is meditation, card pulling, and yoga. Absolutely not. You have to figure out what thing is for you. What I'm saying is, I have gone through the journey of trying to figure out what the things are that are going to help me instead of quick fixes. And so when I am in times of overwhelm and tiredness and, oh my gosh, we have so much to do, it's so much easier to lean on my toolkit and on the things that I have that support me and support my spiritual self and support my whole being, so I can actually show up for other people in a way that feels good and doesn't feel inauthentic, doesn't feel like it's coming from a place of performative strength, which we've talked about on the podcast, right? But none of that would have been available to me if I hadn't gone through the journey. And so I want to acknowledge that there is another side to this. When you wake up in the morning and you say, I can't live like this anymore, there is another side, and you can get there. You absolutely can get there. The question is, can you get there by yourself? And how long will it take you to get there by yourself? Or will you be able to get there faster with support? Right? And if you're in that space right now and you've whispered, I can't live like this anymore, I have something coming up. It's absolutely free. It's called the Becoming You Again Challenge. This is going to be a 5-day private audio journey to help you root and reflect and return to yourself. We are starting on August 25th, I believe is the Monday when it starts. It's going to be semi-live, so that week each episode will be released, and then we will also have a Telegram community to hang out and chat about the journey that we're going through. So if you are interested in joining that, please head to carolinehull.com/become. And if you're longing for sacred support, rituals, and spiritual coaching and community, I am going to be opening up my Voicekeeper Circle in September. The waitlist is open now. You can go to carolinehull.com/circle. Like, these spaces I am creating for you. I am creating for, these are the things that I wish I had had when I had that moment of, I can't live like this anymore. So please, please take advantage of them, especially the Becoming You Again journey, because it is absolutely free. And then be sure, I do events every month, free events every month. So be sure to look on my events page and come to those, because making time for yourself is so incredibly important. Making time to sit and reflect and breathe, and it's self-care for the soul, and it's so, so crucial, especially in this day and age. So just a reminder, you're not behind, you're not failing. If you've said, I can't live like this anymore, let that be the beginning of your becoming, the soft start of your journey. You don't have to go back to who you were. You get to rise into who you are becoming. And I'd love to walk with you. See you next time.